The complete history of the Arab-Iranian conflict. To understand the current geopolitical powder-keg in the Middle East, we have to rewind to 1979. For decades, Iran was ruled by the Shah, a secular monarch heavily backed by the United States. But widespread corruption and political repression led to a massive popular uprising. This culminated in the Islamic Revolution, completely overthrowing the monarchy and bringing Ayatollah Khomeini to power. The new clerical leadership didn't just want to change Iran, they openly declared their intention to export this revolutionary, anti-Western ideology to neighboring countries. This instantly terrified the surrounding Arab monarchies in the Persian Gulf, such as Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, and the UAE. These royal families suddenly viewed Tehran as an existential threat, fearing that Iran would incite similar populist uprisings within their own borders to topple their governments. This intense fear and paranoia boiled over just 1 year later. In 1980, Iraq's ruthless dictator, Saddam Hussein, saw an opportunity in Iran's post-revolution military chaos, hoping to seize oil-rich border territories and crush the revolution before it could spread. Iraqi forces launched a massive surprise invasion into Iran. What followed was one of the deadliest and most horrific conflicts of the modern era. Fearing Iranian expansion, wealthy Arab states like Saudi Arabia and Kuwait poured tens of billions of dollars into funding Iraq's military, effectively using Saddam Hussein as a physical and financial shield against Tehran. The war dragged on for 8 agonizing years, characterized by World War I-style trench warfare, devastating human wave attacks, and the tragic use of chemical weapons. It eventually ended in a bitter ceasefire in 1988, with borders unchanged and over 1 million casualties. For the next 15 years, Iraq stood as a heavily armed Sunni wall, blocking Iranian influence from spreading into the broader Arab world. But in 2003, everything changed. The United States invaded Iraq, dismantled its military, and toppled Saddam Hussein's regime. While this removed a brutal dictator, it also completely shattered the regional balance of power. With its primary rival destroyed and a massive power vacuum left behind, Iran seized the opportunity of a lifetime. Tehran quickly moved to drastically expand its political, economic, and military influence directly into Iraqi politics, backing various political parties and armed militias. By turning Iraq from a hostile shield into a strategic bridge, Iran established a dominant foothold in the Arab world, a move that alarmed Saudi Arabia and its Gulf allies more than ever before. Realizing the landscape had permanently shifted, Saudi Arabia and Iran entered into a fierce, region-wide Cold War. Instead of fighting a direct, conventional war that would devastate their own cities, they began battling for dominance by funding opposing sides in devastating proxy wars across the Middle East. When the Arab Spring uprisings erupted in 2011, this shadow war accelerated. In Syria, Iran provided massive military and financial support to keep the Assad government in power, while Arab states initially funded rebel groups trying to overthrow him. In Yemen, a brutal civil war erupted where a Saudi-led military coalition launched a massive bombing campaign against the Houthi rebels, a fiercely independent group that quickly became heavily supplied and trained by Tehran. Entire nations were reduced to rubble as they became chessboards for this regional rivalry. Knowing it could not outspend the massive, trillion-dollar military budgets of the Gulf states or their American allies, Iran developed a brilliant and highly effective asymmetric military strategy. Over 2 decades, they built the Axis of Resistance, a vast, highly organized network of allied militias and political groups across Lebanon, Syria, Iraq, and Yemen. Iran's elite Quds Force equipped these groups with advanced, low-cost weaponry, including swarm drones, cruise missiles, and precision-guided ballistics. This created a formidable ring of fire deterrent. Today, Iran can project massive power, shut down international shipping lanes, and strike adversaries hundreds of miles away without ever having to officially declare war, utilizing these localized proxy groups to maintain plausible deniability while bleeding their rivals. Caught directly in the crossfire of this escalating tension is the United Arab Emirates, and specifically the global economic powerhouse of Dubai. Dubai's entire model of extreme wealth and prosperity relies entirely on regional stability, safe international shipping, and global tourism. A single missile strike or an all-out war in the Persian Gulf would cause international investors to flee, completely devastating their economy overnight. Therefore, the UAE has mastered an incredibly delicate geopolitical balancing act. On one hand, they host major American military bases and purchase advanced Western air defenses to ensure their physical security. But on the other hand, they quietly maintain deep, highly lucrative trading relationships with Iran, utilizing backdoor diplomacy to keep the peace and prioritize profit over ideology. In March 2023, the world was stunned by a diplomatic earthquake that reshaped the Middle East. After 7 years of severed ties and hostile rhetoric, Saudi Arabia and Iran suddenly announced they were restoring full diplomatic relations. Even more surprisingly, this historic peace deal wasn't brokered by the United States, but by China, the largest buyer of oil from both nations. The logic was simple. Both nations realized that endless proxy wars were draining their economies. Saudi Arabia desperately needs zero conflict to achieve its trillion-dollar Vision 2030 modernization goals, and Iran, suffocating under maximum pressure economic sanctions, desperately needed a diplomatic lifeline. While this deal dramatically cooled the direct temperature between Riyadh and Tehran, it was a tactical ceasefire, not a magical solution to their deep ideological divides. Today, as we move through 2026, the Middle East remains incredibly volatile, yet the Saudi-Iranian detente has proven surprisingly resilient. While Arab-Iranian state relations have stabilized, Iran's axis of resistance continues to clash heavily with the United States and Israel in an intense shadow war. Allied proxy groups have disrupted global shipping in the Red Sea and targeted American bases, prompting the US to respond with precision airstrikes. Yet, remarkably, Saudi Arabia and the UAE have refused to join military coalitions against Iran's allies, and have explicitly denied the US and Israel permission to use their airspace to strike Iranian territory. It is a dangerous, high-stakes game of deterrence, where Gulf Arab states are charting a new, independent path, desperately trying to exert pressure and stabilize the region without accidentally triggering World War III. Thank you for watching this deep dive. Please subscribe to Shree's Learning Lab for more.